This is the Post Shift Podcast, a raw look at the hospitality industry.
You guys have known me this week and been at all the events and seen up all the stuff we did this week so far. We've still got 2 events to go. So as soon as I finish this, I got to go over to Parkside and get the Appleton competition ready to go. Also on the side, I do 4 podcasts a week. So I do 4 episodes on 2 different series. This is my post-shift podcast that we're going to be doing today. Actually, this Friday, while Whisky Fest was on in January, I interviewed Chris Thompson. So this Friday at 9 a.m., there'll be a Chris Thompson episode. But I thought, well, when George reached out, he said, why don't you do something with Bill? And I was like, cool, we can do that. And so everybody knows Bill pretty well. You guys have got to know me over the last 2 days, which has been great because I'm very, very humbled and grateful that you guys came to Victoria. I'm very proud of my town, very proud of my city, and you've all met a lot of the bartenders that work here, so you can kind of see why we're proud. We're not cliquey and douchey like some other cities when it comes to bartenders. I can say that, right? It's my podcast. I can say whatever I want. I swear on my podcast. I won't swear for you guys because everybody's fucking awesome here. So George and I got some questions together, and I know Bill likes to talk. So really, I think for you guys, you've been around for 20 years as 40 Creek. You have a legacy. It's very different to the legacy of the other brands in Canada. And really, for Bill, I really was curious at why. What changes have you seen in Canadian whiskey in 20 years?
The huge change I've seen is the Canadian whiskey scene was pretty dead. I came out of the wine industry in 1987 and started in the spirits industry. That was a time of huge contraction within the industry. Corby distilleries closed. Believe it or not, there is a town called Corbyville where the distillery used to be. Corby still exists, but it's a sales arm. McGuinness Distillers, which is now condominiums, closed in Mississauga. A number of these really, even Hiram Walker's Goodman Morts, which is the distillery district in Toronto, was still in existence at that time. So there was this huge contraction. Nobody was interested in Canadian whiskey. It was something your grandfather drank, which is quite amusing to me to see the presentation on Barrel Select that we need to get younger, because the demographic that's drinking Canadian whiskey today was younger 20 years ago.
Not so much anymore. So what have you seen changed? Like in the way of flavor profiles and taste, I think in the last 5-10 years, it's sort of completely turned 180.
Yeah, Canadian whiskey 20 years ago was pretty rough, is the only way to describe it. It really wasn't drinkable on its own. You had to mix it. I know my father drank 3-star whiskey, with ginger ale, and that's how everybody drank whiskey. Nobody drank Canadian whiskey straight up.
On a personal level, what makes you get up at 5 a.m.? And I know you talked about passion, and passion is a very big piece of the marketing for you and 40 Creek. What actually gets you up in the morning?
What gets me, the reality is 5 o'clock is when I show up at work. It's not when I get up. My wife likes to say I'm the only person who can fall asleep in their chair at 9 o'clock at night, wake up at 11 o'clock at night, and not go back to bed. It's just what I do.
Where do you see Canadian whiskey and 40 Creek going in the next 10 years, or the next 20 years?
So, we've got a lot of interesting things on the back burner. What was it, 2 years ago that the lead team visited, and we let them taste a 12-year-old expression, which none of you guys have tasted yet because there isn't enough to let you taste. There's 1 barrel. But we have a number of whiskeys that hit 6 years old this year. We have a little bit of whiskey that's hit 8 years old, and all of those expressions are going to be brought out at some point. I've got some other things going on that I'm not ready to talk about yet, but they're completely disruptive to the industry.
You're kind of killing my podcast right now, Bill. That's the whole point of this. You were supposed to let us in on shit that no one else knows about. You're just kind of killing. You're kind of killing my cancer here.
There's one little problem because finance doesn't know about them either.
What's your favorite 40 Creek cocktail?
Okay, now I know you're a bartender. I know you love cocktails.
So you're not telling me anything, and now you're going to offend me. Is it going to be a backhanded compliment?
So my favorite cocktail is whiskey and ice, and that's it.
Clear ice, right? Like someone has to do the proper ice.
Now,
I've got to keep a job. Like seriously.
I will admit, on occasion, I do enjoy a cocktail. Unfortunately, I don't tend to like sweet drinks that cover up the taste of the base liquid. So I want a whiskey cocktail. I want to taste the whiskey.
Is there a whiskey that you've put out in the last 20 years that you regret not keeping more of?
Definitely. And that's an easy answer. We had a limited release product called Heart of Gold.
That was a good one.
And it was a phenomenal product. We were very limited in the amount we could produce because there was a very special spirit ingredient, which I will share with you now because it no longer exists. Way back in 1994, when we were making wine, one of our growers sent us some grapes by mistake. And it happened to be Gewürztraminer, which is a really aromatic German variety. It didn't have any place in our wine portfolio. So what I did was I distilled it. And I stuck it in new Hungarian oak barrels for 6 years. Heart of Gold, the actual heart of that product, was this Gewürztraminer brandy in 1% portion. And it changed the whole flavor profile of the whiskey. We're fortunate in this country that our whiskey laws allow us to do experimentation. Our 40 Creek products can only be created in Canada. We're fully compliant with all the laws, but we can do experimentation within those regulations.
So with everything, you're a busy man, obviously. How do you find spare time to be a prize-winning show dog trainer? So first of all, I've been married for 38 years. My wife and I share the passion for the dogs. So I'm very fortunate that when I'm not home, she looks after them. And it's a partnership for us. When I get home on Friday night, I'm going home changing suitcases and going off to a dog show this weekend. Oh, wow. What sort of dogs?
Wire Fox Terriers, and I have a couple of Airedales.
I have no idea what those are.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'll Google that afterwards and find out what sort of dogs they are. For you, we're going to have to wrap this up because George is staying up now, which I mean, it's the roundup time. When George stands up, he's going to pull me off stage. What are you most excited about in the next 5 years for yourself personally and for 40 Creek? Because I watched this presentation from George and stuff, and for me, this is a nice little peek hole into what you guys do on a daily basis. I can talk about on-premise bartenders till the cows come home, but it was really interesting sort of how the market's going to affect and how Barrel Select and all your SKUs are sort of playing in the different markets and the plan for the next 5 years. So I'm privy to some nice stuff. What are you excited about?
So what I'm excited about is I've gone to the last few sales conferences, and 40 Creek has been, for me, almost an afterthought. The re-emphasis on 40 Creek whiskey is fantastic to me. The recognition that it is our top-selling product. Don't get me wrong. I am a camperista. I believe in all of our other products, but my heart is with 40 Creek whiskey.
Done. Thank you for sitting down. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Post Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you're listening, whatever platform you're on, give me a good rating, subscribe, listen along. I'm going to keep going. I really enjoy sitting down with people and learning where they're from, what they did, and how they got to where they were. So if you love it, give me a good 5 stars. If you don't, Give me one and I'll try harder.